Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. Movie audiences around the world are about to have another opportunity to see yet another video game-based movie. But this particular video game-based movie isn't getting good reviews from critics. In fact, it's essentially being review-bombed by critics. So let me introduce you to this upcoming movie, Borderlands by Lionsgate. But before proceeding, I'd like to ask everyone to please like this video, please leave a comment, please subscribe to support this channel, and please press the bell to receive notifications. Thanks! Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, as of the time that I am recording this video, the critics' score for Borderlands sits at 8%, but earlier today it was at 0% and 3%. With 39 critical reviews as of the time that I am recording this video, only 3 are positive, and the very first critic to give the movie a positive review was, you guessed it, Grace Randolph, who wrote the following. I've never played the games, but I got a kick out of Blanchett starring in a movie like this and doing a great job. I do wish the script had been adjusted a bit better to accommodate her age. Blanchett fans will enjoy this, not sure about anyone else. So basically, Grace Randolph likes it only because Cate Blanchett is in the movie. But let's see what other critics are saying about this probable box office bomb of a movie. Top critic Bob Strauss of the San Francisco Chronicle wrote, Borderlands trudges through its treasure hunt scenario and endless ripoffs of better franchises from Lethal Weapon to Star Wars. It makes you want to go home and blow up your PlayStation. Yeah, some of these are going to make me laugh. Critic Wendy Lee Zanny of The Movie Couple wrote, the movie did not capture the essence of the Borderlands video game. The dialogue was messy and all over the place. The action scenes weren't impressive. A missed opportunity to not explore and tell the story of Lilith's origin from the game. Top critic David Fear of Rolling Stone wrote, it's not a movie for critics, as the saying goes, nor is it suitable for consumption by most gamers, film lovers, or 99% of carbon-based life forms. Top critic William Babani of The Wrap wrote, the biggest problem with Eli Roth's Borderlands isn't that it's bad, it's that it's not interesting enough to be bad. It's mass-produced pablum. Critic Matt Donato of IGN News wrote, Borderlands is a catastrophic disappointment that plays like hacked-to-pieces studio slop, betraying everything fans adore about Gearbox Software's franchise in derivative, regrettable fashion. You know, I don't think he likes this movie. Critic Shekhar Verma of High on Films wrote a very entertaining review saying, what we get with the film is a noisy, insufferable, and embarrassing video game adaptation that can be seen as yet another example of studio-driven cash grabs treating their audience like dumb cardboard pieces. The biggest difference between these reviewers and Grace Randolph is that they're looking at a lot more than just the fact that Cate Blanchett is in the movie, and that makes them a lot more credible than her. Critic Edgar Ortega of Loud and Clear Reviews also wrote a rather entertaining review saying, Borderlands is what an out-of-touch executive thinks the cool kids would find appealing. One obnoxious quip after another that feel outdated as soon as they're uttered. Another very entertaining review, which is the last one that I'll share in this video, comes from top critic Barry Hertz of Globe and Mail, who wrote, tonally messy, narratively janky, and slathered with pasted-over narration that reeks of creative indecision, the film is an embarrassing affair for even the most hardcore of gamers. What I'm most impressed about with most of these reviewers is that they're not focused on whether the movie has enough diversity, equity, or inclusion, otherwise known as woke identity politics. Instead, they're actually looking at the content of the movie and how well it was put together, so for this movie at least, they're actually doing their jobs for a change. So as bad as the bulk of these critical reviews are moviegoers actually going to want to pay to see this movie in theaters? According to Box Office Pro, as of August 1st, they are predicting a domestic opening weekend box office take of between $8 million to $12 million, which isn't all that much money. But according to Variety, an insider told them that international movie ticket pre-sales are already equivalent to 60% of the movie's production budget. Naturally, it's not clear whether that's accurate or not, but we'll go with it and see whether the movie has a chance of breaking even or not. So, also according to Variety, the movie's production budget is around $115 million, but amazingly, there's also a value reported for the movie's distribution and marketing budget, which is incredibly rare for any studio to report. And that distribution and marketing budget is reported to be $30 million. And because there is a reported value for the distribution and marketing budget, I don't have to estimate it. Instead, I will add that $30 million to the movie's reported $115 million production budget, which yields a total cost of $145 million. And when we multiply the total cost by 2 to account for the 50% of gross box office ticket sales that movie theaters keep for themselves, we get an estimated break-even point of $290 million. But is that a reasonable value? If we divide the $290 million estimated break-even point by the movie's reported $115 million production budget, we get a value of around 2.52, which is very close to where I would have estimated the movie's break-even point by multiplying the reported production budget by 2.5. Thus, my methodology for how I estimate break-even points isn't far from reality. Now, to project what the movie's final domestic box office revenue might be, I'll use a range of possible average weekly drops from 30 to 40%, since Borderlands isn't part of a broader movie franchise. And when I do that, I can project that the movie's final domestic box office revenue might range from $25 million at the low end, $28.6 million at the mid-range, and $33.3 million at the upper end. Now, because an estimate has been provided for what the movie's international box office might be during opening weekend, that works out to a domestic share of around 12.66%, which I don't personally believe is particularly realistic, but we'll go with it and see where the projections go. So if the movie has an incredibly low domestic share of 12.66%, I can project that the movie's final global gross box office revenue could potentially range from $197.5 million at the low end, $225.6 million at the mid-range, and $262.9 million at the upper end. But guess what? Even at a very low domestic share of 12.66%, that entire projected range is below the movie's estimated break-even point of $290 million. And if the domestic share ends up being higher than 12.66%, which is what I suspect will be the case, then the projected final global gross box office revenue range will be lower, provided the actual domestic opening weekend box office is close to Box Office Pro's prediction. And their predictions are usually pretty good. Thus, Borderlands could become a much larger flop than what I'm currently projecting, and I don't believe that it has much of a chance of being able to break even at this point in time. So between the deplorable critical reviews, the very low predicted domestic opening weekend box office, and my own projections for the movie, that tends to suggest that Borderlands is going to be a box office flop and might lose somewhere on the order of $27.1 million to $92.5 million in global gross box office revenue, which, if we divide by 2 to account for the 50% of gross box office ticket sales that movie theaters keep for themselves, means that Lionsgate may lose somewhere on the order of $13.5 million to $46.3 million. So Borderlands may not be a huge flop, but I highly doubt that it's going to be able to break even at the box office. So we'll have to wait and see how well it does this weekend and in the coming weeks to get more conclusive data. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.